Are you someone who cleans up only when you absolutely have to? Or are you someone who loves to get rid of the clutter? If you're in the habit of cleaning up only when you absolutely have to, then my friend, this episode may just be for you. Especially if you're trying to achieve your goals. The art of decluttering, not just your environment, but your mindset, is an extremely critical skill to have. You may have heard of that adage that in between all the pile of rubbish, therein lies the treasure, whatever the treasure might be for you. So in this episode, we're going to be looking at how to do a deep cleaning of the mind, why it's important, and of course, some practical ways to do just that. Hi, and welcome back to Up It and another episode of the Actionables podcast. If you're a returning viewer or a listener, thank you so much for tuning back in. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Payden. This channel is all about bringing you mindset coaching tips and strategies to help you move toward your life goals. So if you've got goals that you want to achieve for yourself, do consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon. It's a pretty well-known fact that when your workspace is clutter-free, you're more productive. Similarly, when it comes to pursuing your goals, the more clutter-free your mind, the more productive you are, more focused you can be, and the chances of you reaching those goals are much higher. So it makes sense to declutter your mind, right? You may already know that the way to achieving your goals is all about following a simple formula, which we have discussed several times before. So here it is again. Ideal way to achieving your goals is all about having the right thoughts, taking the right actions, and then getting the ideal results. However, since we don't live in an ideal world, we end up not pursuing our goals in an ideal way, which, by the way, is also the simplest way to pursuing your goals. Instead, what we do is we end up complicating things with our thoughts. Those people who do achieve their goals realize that the art of decluttering, the way they think, i.e. their mindset, is extremely critical. See, before anything appears or manifests itself in 3D, that is in our reality, it first starts off as a thought. Such thoughts that either move us toward or away from what we want, we refer to them as positive or negative thoughts. So with whatever you're trying to achieve, the first level to concentrate upon is your quality of thoughts. Here's an idea. What if you could invest in your mental efforts to have better quality thoughts that would ultimately lead you toward what you want to achieve? Wouldn't that be fabulous? So how does one end up having better quality thoughts? Now, the skill to having better quality thoughts is to get rid of thoughts that don't serve you. If you're on the fence about whether mental decluttering actually works, then I'd say that is an interesting objection. So the place to start would be to make a simple and a small change in belief. What if you could believe that your quality of thoughts, everything that you think, only you are responsible for it? Yes, it may be influenced because of something or someone else. However, if you took the responsibility that every thought that you are having, only you are responsible, and it is a choice that you're making to have that thought, then I think that is a perfect segue to get into some of the practices for mental decluttering. The first practice is to consider practicing mindfulness. Now, just like you brush your teeth every single morning, consider creating a mindfulness practice for yourself. For several years now, I've been practicing meditation every single day, and I can speak to the fact of how my own mindset has been impacted by this simple practice of mindfulness. You may consider practicing mindfulness by simply sitting down and noticing your thoughts, or you may rely on transcendental or guided meditation to help you. Of course, every person's mindfulness practice is going to be unique and it's going to take time. However, the whole idea of mindfulness is to tune in and to observe your thoughts without being judgmental toward them. With a deeper practice, you will be able to experience that you will become more aware to your thoughts, become more responsible of the kind of thoughts that you're having, and ultimately reach a point where you'll be able to observe your thoughts without being judgmental. And all this is going to help you take better quality action toward what you want to achieve. The second practice for decluttering your mind is to practice journaling. Now, for a very long time, I struggled with making journaling a deep practice because I used to think that just being aware of my thoughts was sufficient. I surely did not need to write down every single thought. However, when I started writing down my thoughts, I realized that just being aware of your thoughts is simply one practice. Writing down your thoughts is another deeper practice. And most of us might be aware of simply doing a brain dump and writing down your thoughts in your journal. However, I suggest a two-part, deeper way of doing journaling. The first part is the act of writing down your thoughts. The second part is where it becomes a little deeper. And that is when you have written down your thoughts and next to it, you choose how you're going to respond to those thoughts. I think there is so much wisdom here because it helps you tap into your higher consciousness on not just being aware of the quality of thoughts that you're having, but also about how you choose to respond to those thoughts. So with a deeper practice of writing down your thoughts and journaling in this two-part way, you're going to become more aware of your thoughts certainly, but you're also going to take responsibility because you are making a choice on how you want to respond to the thoughts that you're having. Third is to practice forgiveness, not just of others, but also of yourself. I'm sure you'll agree with me when I say that we've all been disappointed by the actions and mistakes of not just others, but also of ourselves. And while forgiving others might be difficult, what is even more difficult is to forgive oneself. Now, I personally know that in my relationships, I have hurt a lot of people and in turn been hurt as well. For a very long time, I was carrying a lot of anger and hurt and resentment, not toward just the other people involved, but also toward myself. So the important lesson I learned was that at one point, I had to let go of that anger and deep resentment because it was not serving me. So when you choose to forgive others and yourself, what you do is you let go of that negative energy, you declutter your mind in a way that is extremely helpful and beneficial for you. And then that way you can stop expending and wasting mental energy that you can then use to pursue higher goals for yourself. And the fourth one is to become extremely protective of what you feed your mind. Think of it this way. Just like food is necessary and vital for our physical body, so are good, positive, empowered thoughts for a good functioning mindset. Two biggest influences that determine what we actually feed our mind are social media and the people we hang out with. So if someone's social media page is not inspiring you, in fact is doing the opposite of that, then choose to unfollow them. Similarly, if you are hanging out with people who are constantly bringing you down, are not inspiring you, then you can choose not to hang out with them. When you wake up to this realization that you have a choice what you want to feed your mind, there is real power there. What you consume digitally, who you hang out and interact with, ultimately determines the kind of quality of thoughts that you're going to have. We really become our thoughts. So those were some of the practices to help you with mental decluttering. I hope this helped. If this episode resonated, don't forget to share it with a friend and I will see you next week. If you want further tips to move toward your goals, then download your free goals checklist. The link is mentioned in the description below. Until next week, remember, what you want matters and it's really up to you to make it happen. Stay happy and stay healthy. I'll see you next week. See ya.